So we're going to start looking at electricity, and we're going to start by building a couple simple circuits just to get used to some of the terminology that we're going to use over the next few weeks as we go into the shocking subject of electricity. Um, all right, I know a lot of this stuff is new. I just want to keep you current on all of the developments with electricity. So here we go. Here's the PhET page. I'm going to launch the simulation by pressing on the 5 for HTML5, so it runs in your browser. I'm going to click on Intro. And I've got a bunch of devices over here on the left and some other measurement devices over here on the right. So I'm going to grab a battery. Seems reasonable to do. You can see there are some little circles on the top and bottom of the battery, and that indicates connections. Every device has connections. So here's a wire and another wire. So now I've got two wires and a battery, and the little negatives are electrons, and they're not moving anywhere yet. So let's put something in the path of these wires, and we can see if we can get the electrons to move. Here's a light bulb, and I can connect two sides of the light bulb, and now I have the electrons are moving, which we call current. When the electrons are moving in the wire, we call that a current. And some concepts that we need to get some words down for. This is a battery. It provides energy, and that energy we call voltage. And so if I click on that, I can see the volts here are 9 volts. Maybe just make it 10 to make my life easier. 10 volts of energy. The electrons are flowing, and we call that flow current. And we can measure the current with a current meter or an ammeter. So I'm going to grab that. So the current in this case is 1 amp. So we measure energy from the battery in volts, and we measure current through the circuit. There's another word, circuit, in amps. So we've got volts, which is the energy, and current in amps, which is how fast the energy is moving. This whole thing we call a circuit. And if I open up the circuit, if I click on this guy and open that up, then the current drops to 0. And it's not flowing, and you can see that we don't have a circuit. We have kind of this branchy thing here. So that's the general idea of how this simulation runs. The lab sheet asks you a bunch of questions, and there are other things that we can put in the circuit in this little toolbox over here. If I wanted to put another light bulb in here, for example, I can connect it here, and if I want to make it pretty, I could get another wire and connect it here. And now I have even more light bulbs in the circuit, and we can look at how bright they are compared to one light bulb. So this is just an introduction. We're going to get into more details on this later, but just use the simulation to answer some questions, and it asks you to put some other things in the circuit, other types of devices. So enjoy this, answer the questions, and have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Have a wonderful day. Part of the lab asks you to change the voltage on the battery or change the properties of the bulb, and you can do that by what it says in the bottom of this simulation here. It says tap circuit element to edit. So if I click on the battery, you can see I can change how many volts it has. And if I click on the bulb, it changes the property of the bulb called resistance. So resistance is how hard it is to get the energy to flow through that device, or how fast that device wants the energy. And part of this exercise is for you to play with these variables and see if you can find a relationship between resistance and current and things like that. So by tapping on a device, you can change its properties. And I just wanted to clarify how that worked.